What is up guys, welcome back to another video, and today we are talking about the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Today we're going to highlight its benefits and key features so you guys can get a good insight. Whether you're browsing the internet or checking your messages, the iPhone 14 Pro Max display adapts to the sunlight intelligently. It reduces glare and minimalizes reflections, making it easier to watch your content, even in direct sunlight. So now you've seen the 14 Pro Max in daylight, I bet you're wondering, what would it be like in nighttime? So we're going to go switch over to nighttime right now so you can see exactly how it works. Right, so this is the night with the 14 Pro Max. Now, does it look bad, or does it look even better than a normal camera? So, the problem is that people take phones for granted too much. I personally took phones for granted too much myself. Now with the 14 Pro Max, I would personally say it's up there with your low budget cameras. Now, if you want to get yourself a DSLR camera or a mirrorless camera, you can do so. But if you want something so comfortably in your pocket, then I would definitely suggest the 14 Pro Max. If not, any of the iPhone 14 range, or the 10 range, or even the 13. It's just up to you. So let's put everything aside on the iPhone and just talk about the system software. The iPhone's display is 120 Hz, giving you a smooth refresh rate when you're scrolling through your apps, if it's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or just your genuine gaming. But let's say you're a battery saver person. How do you save your battery? Well, when you turn off your phone, it goes into what's called power saving mode and uses only 1 Hz, so you can actually save battery more efficiently. This feature is called always on display. Now, not a lot of people like always on display, but let's say you're at work and you still need to know what's going on in your life. You can have this always on display on, still get your messages coming through, and it still be in always on display on 1 Hz, saving you battery. Meaning, if you have this feature on all day and you're at 100% and you finally finish the day, you could only lose possibly 2 to 3%. Think about that one. But talking about the always on display, see, Samsung had this 5 years ago, and we're not going to deny that. Apple have stolen that, but they do it better. Meaning that with the always on display on old Samsung phones or the Google Pixel, for example, it feels like you're fading into a second piece of software, as in you're transitioning into like safe mode when you get that option to use super battery life mode and you go into a whole different menu. With Apple, it's different and far better. See, with the iPhone 14 Pro Max always on display, when you're using your 120 Hz and you want to save your battery, when you power your phone off, it fades into the 1 Hz, cancelling out all of the black pixels, so it's less battery consumptionable, if that's even a word. Talking about the system, once I switched over to the iPhone, I noticed a big difference in my music, in my day-to-day going about places that I've never been before. I've even noticed a big difference when it comes down to ringing people. See, when I rang people on my old A71, there was a lot of noise, a lot of grain, and a lot of grit in the background, and not a lot of people could hear me, especially my dad. He'd be like, "Oh, I can't hear you, Reece. Where are you? I can't hear you." But switching to the iPhone, he's noticed a big difference, and I've noticed a big difference, because on the iPhone, when you're ringing someone and you've got a lot of noise in the background, you can scroll down and have a selection called isolation, voice isolation. That cancels out any background noise that you may have, kinda like Adobe Podcast. Take this clip for example, where the voice is really bad and then it switches really good. Yes, but do I need an upgrade? Yes. That's one intro. 3, 2, 1, you're gonna do the broke boy thing, okay? It cancels out all of that background noise, haze, wind, trains, which I was in a train station the other day.
and I was ringing my mum, and she wanted to know where I was, and she couldn't hear me. And as soon as I switched it to voice isolation, she was like, wow, where have the trains gone? Now let's talk about the music and just your day-to-day general use, because in everyone's day-to-day life, when they're going work, going college, going university, or even going to school, you listen to music. And I don't own a pair of AirPods yet, but with my own cheap earphones I have, still gives me more features with the iPhone than it ever did with the Samsung A71. Meaning that when I was calling my girlfriend, I was like, oh no, I've got to switch off my music. So I rang my girlfriend, well, answered the phone, and what happened was my music faded out. I was confused, I was shocked. I was like, Tegan, my music just faded out on the phone. It's never done that. I've always had to press stop. And this was YouTube. She also commented on the voice isolation, how she could hear me and no wind or trees. And as soon as I hung up the call, my music faded back in. I didn't have to press any buttons. I was astounded. I was like a child on Christmas. Now, with all these features aside, we're forgetting one little thing. So let's talk about the battery with the 14 Pro Max. On Google, someone is stating that they lasted 13 hours and 39 minutes on a single charge. Are you just not touching your phone? Since getting it, yes, the battery's better in every way than my old phone, but it's not 13 hours. See, I average about 5 hours on a single day before needing to charge it, and that is at 40% because it's recommended. Now I could probably get another 2 hours out of that, so let's say 7 to 8 hours I roughly get throughout the day. I will have to charge it because I'm on TikTok and YouTube, which degrades your battery significantly. But talking about the battery, it's more efficient than the past iPhone 13. And here's the thing, when you're going out on your day-to-day like I am, and I'm filming or I'm just needing to be in contact with people, I can go a full day not touching the phone and it only goes down roughly 5% if I'm not using it at all. Let's talk about the problems with the battery. Now, iPhone have given you a MagSafe charger, meaning that you can wirelessly charge your iPhone if you don't want to use its lightning port. Now I know our iPhone has now moved over to USB Type-C, but we're talking about lightning port and wireless charging here. So what's the problem? I got myself a wireless charger, I've been now using that. I came back and it was very hot, so the phone was very hot. I mean, it would make sense because inside is a copper coil, and that is what takes in the power consumption and charges your phone, and it will get hot, but not that hot. And I've not had this phone that long, meaning that when you're actually charging the phone every day, you could have a risk of destroying your battery capacity, which you would find in your battery health. If you scroll to your battery health, you will see what your battery capability or capacity is at. Now mine's still at 100, but people have been saying not even 5 months it's gone down to 97, which is not good. That meaning said, I've always said this about phones, you shouldn't be giving your phones a higher wattage of charging because it will destroy your battery and it will overheat. Now, iPhone's not giving you a high wattage of charging, they expect you to charge at 20, which is still high compared to their old models, which used to be 5. But with the Xiaomi Mi 11T Pro, that is a 120 watt charger. Why would a company give you such high capability of charging when even they know it's dangerous? Yes, because you can charge your phone in 20 minutes or less than 20 minutes, which that phone states it can. No one's going to remember to plug it in and then go back in 20 minutes. My phone takes 2 hours to charge on a wireless charger and an hour and 10 minutes on a normal charge. That's more rememberable than a 120 watt charger. So yeah, Apple's battery is good, but the overheating is possibly dangerous.
Right, so now we're going to get to the fun part about why I love the 14 Pro Max. Let's talk about the cameras. Now with the cameras on the 14 Pro Max, it comes in 3 sections. It comes with the first 48 megapixel main camera, which is amazing for street photography or portrait photography if you have a subject within your actual range. Now, here's the thing, if you want to zoom in to anything beyond that, it comes with a 12 megapixel telephoto lens. Now, we know the 15 Pro Max has just come out, which gives off now a 5 times, whatever. We'll talk about that next time. But for now, let's talk about the telephoto lens.
If you were to zoom in, it uses the new photonic engine, giving you more pixels per inch in your picture. When people hear megapixels in camera, they go crazy. They think, oh no, because it's less megapixels, it's going to be bad. That's far from the truth. The Samsung 23 Ultra has got a 200 megapixel camera, and you hear those numbers compared to iPhone and think, oh, Samsung are better, but are they really? Yes, they've got the zoom behind them, which we only have a 3 times and they have a 100 times, but they use basic AI to encrypt those photos and make them look more natural. Now, I'm not saying iPhone completely take away that feature, because even me and my own brother, who has a 23 Ultra, compared phones, and we noticed that even though his phone has a AI built into it, which enhances his photos, the iPhone also does. It's very hard to see, but as you can see, you can slightly see the grain in my face, and then it slowly fades away. That is giving you a minimalist AI capability. Whilst with Samsung, you know it's happening before your very eyes. But let's talk about the main thing when it comes to cameras, and that's social media.
I mean, here's literally a story coming straight from Instagram. And if you don't believe me, then just look at this. Social media normally degrades your clarity when using their cameras. But as you can see, straight from the Instagram camera, it looks perfectly fine. And this is what Apple do that is very, very high quality compared to compared to Android phones.
See, the iPhone 14 Pro Max has a 4K resolution camera, giving you 60 FPS, 24 FPS and 30 FPS. 24 FPS is mainly a normal human speed, whilst 30 is a bit more sharper, and then 60 is more smoother. Have you ever heard of ProRes? Let's talk about it. The iPhone 14 Pro Max gives you a ProRes mode. Problem is, it's 1080p 30 FPS. Don't let that discourage you, because I was one to be upset about this feature. Until I used it, I noticed with my girlfriend's facial features and the detail in her face was not as sharp when I used the 4K resolution and the 60 FPS. Until I switched it to ProRes mode, I noticed a big difference. Her freckles were more popping out and it was more sharper and darker. It just looked more cinematic. And talking about cinematic, let's talk about cinematic mode. The cinematic mode on the 14 Pro Max is the best feature I've ever used. See, now when I want to make my content, I can now use the cinematic mode because it's like you physically got a low budget in the film industry mirrorless camera in your hand. See, the cinematic mode uses 4K 30 FPS. Don't let the FPS discourage you, because if you're using cinematic, you want natural human movement, which 24 FPS is actually what you want. Let's say you're filming a running scene or someone who's having a fight scene and you want to use your phone. Use 24 FPS because it looks more aggressive, while 60 FPS would look more smoother and it looks like it's being choreographed, which I really like. Plus as well, it gives you what's called an f-stop. It gives you a depth of field low as 2.0, which normal camera lenses start at around about 2.8, and then they go lower depending on how much you want to spend. Now, what is an f-stop? F-stop is your depth of field with cameras and having what's called the beauty mode, giving you a blurry background. And when it comes to cinematic mode and cinematic scenes in films, you want that blurry background. It gives your character more of a reason to watch them because it makes them more mysterious. And that's what I love. So this is the sort of colour that you can get with the iPhone on just your normal selfie camera when you're walking about. See, the colour throughout the camera is really nice, but once you've added your own colour into it, you can actually make this camera really pop. With the iPhone 14 Pro Max, you actually get third-party apps. And let's say you're like me and you like filming. This doesn't look that good, does it? But once you put it in an app like this from the iPhone, you can make your videos pop. So this is what Filmic Pro looks like. It's a third-party app made for the iPhone, but also at the same time it actually utilizes your workspace. Let's say you're filming content on a camera. You then got to take your SD card and slap it onto an editing software, color grade, maybe sometimes also change the actual audio, and then you've got to post it. But don't forget the effects and editing you got to do. With Filmic Pro, it's different. You can literally just create a really dramatic clip from your iPhone and just post it straight away because you've already dealt with the coloring. And also, to be honest, you could just use your CapCut on your phone just to cut clips off that you don't like. So if you have considered getting yourself a new phone, I would definitely suggest getting the iPhone 14 or the Pro Max. Doesn't matter, because you get astounding quality like this. This is literally the front-facing camera. So it's a win-win. Right guys, so that has been me. I have been Guy Tech Reviews, aka Reece Guy, and if you do appreciate this video, please give it a like and subscribe, and go and watch this video over here about the Oppo Neo X3. I did a review on that, and if you do appreciate these types of videos, please leave in the description below what you would like me to review next, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care guys.